Good morning, Raptors freak Alexios here. It's Saturday morning, Saturday Share the Love Club, and today we're continuing to work our way through the Raptors roster, and we're going to celebrate somebody who's not always celebrated by on the Raptors team, somebody who hasn't really gotten his chance completely, and we're hoping he'll get his chance this year. With the Raptors, and that's Malachi Flynn, our first round pick from a couple years ago, who, he hasn't had a lot of luck in his career with the Raptors for different reasons. We draft him and we have to go to Tampa and have our first season with him in Tampa. And that is a detrimental thing to young man's development and stuff like that. But I have to give credit to Malachi that he stuck with it and he continues to work hard. There's one thing about this whole thing with Malachi Flynn that has there's a disconnect. Talked about this before. There's a disconnect between what us fans think about him and what the coaches and the front office of the Raptors think about him. That they really truly believe in Malachi. That they've invested in time and development and coaching, all kinds of things into him, and that they really believe in him and stuff like that. It hasn't totally translated on the court, and there's different reasons for that. It doesn't have totally to do with Nick Nurse like Eric Flynn thinks it does. Like I have to, when talking about Malachi, we do have to talk about Eric Flynn and the distraction he's been twice. Two different times he's caused a huge distraction and problems for his son that he just didn't need to do. They've got to trust the process that they're going to get to him and get him a good chance to be on the court and show what he can do and stuff like that. So it's like, listen, Malachi has something special in him. He is a baller. He is a scorer. He has major skills as a ball handler and also as a shooter. And it just hasn't totally translated to the NBA level. And that's a big part of what it is that players get certain ceilings of where they can go with their professional career. And, it's not always up to them. They can want to get to that level and be pushed over and be comfortable in that level. But it's not always up to them. I think of players like Isaiah Thomas for the Detroit Pistons, not recent Isaiah Thomas. I think about Muggsy Bogues. I think about these really short guys who had to have the heart and that much more in all kinds of other ways to survive the NBA ecosystem. And that, things are trending higher, bigger, faster, stronger, in the NBA and having all of that in one package. And it's like, it's not really a specialized league in some ways. There's still players that are specialists and do certain traits, like maybe this guy's really a good rebounder, this guy's a really good three-point shooter or something like that. But it's becoming more and more all around. Like they want as many players, obviously, on this Raptors team that are all around versatile. Like, Scotty Barnes is something different than Malachi. Scotty Barnes comes into this league physically ready to play in it. And not that Malachi wasn't for what it is, but it's a different thing when you're at a different size and stuff like that at this moment. All right, Monty Python's here. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? She like pictures. She like photography. Photography, yeah. She like photography. Wink, wink. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? All right, Tom Duke saying, morning, everyone. I am rooting for Malachi. I am too. Listen, at this point, listen, I trust in Masai, and Masai believes in Malachi. And once again, if they put that red Raptor jersey on their body and get on the court and play at Scotiabank Arena for my team, I support them and want them to be positive and things to happen for them. That I don't root for team players on the Raptors to do poorly, to get kicked off, to get waived. I don't find any glee in players on the Raptors failing and not being able to be on this team. Some people do, and some of those people are toxic Raptor fans. That's what I would say right now. Anybody who gets any glee over somebody's dreams getting crushed and not being able to be who they want to be professionally, you're mean. And it's like, listen, we have to remember this when we're dealing with this with players. They're human beings. They have feelings. They have emotions. They go through depression. They go through sadness and anger too. And sometimes the fans are too detached from it. Sometimes we treat them too much like cattle too expendable, too much like, well, let's just get rid of him. Malachi sucks. Let's get rid of him. I'm so sick of this mentality. Listen, as I say, the first thing we say here at Raptor Freak channel is trust in Masai. So Masai and Bobby believe in this young man and think that he will become something still. We should also. And that we need to stop throwing the baby out with the bathwater all the time with these players. It's crazy how easy we want to just toss people and stuff. Sure, Svi had a bad year last year. His home country's at war with Russia. He had a horrible year for shooting and he lost his confidence. That's the worst. We don't know what all he went through last year and stuff like that. We should be supportive towards him instead of like talking all this shit about him in the press and stuff that is just not necessary. Whatever happens to Svi, whatever happens to Malachi is their lot and is what it will be. But we should never ever take any glee in players not making it or having trouble or just dumping on them, saying he's garbage, get him off my team, and stuff like that. We've seen disrespect towards certain players like Kem Birch, Svi Mahalik, Malachi Flynn, Yuta Watanabe, different times and for different reasons and stuff like that. Maybe some of it was warranted because we're so disappointed in the bench. But I wouldn't blame them, any of them individually, one by one. I would say the collective of the bench was not good enough for us and stuff like that. All right, let's keep going. Monique's here. Good morning, Monique. Superfan Monique. Monty Python saying, I agree. There's no way Malachi would still be here if management didn't see something special. This organization is ruthless. Malachi's a first round pick, guys. He's not even a second round pick. In some ways, he ranks higher than a lot of the young guys that are on our team. Coloco's second round, Delano's second round, Justin Chimpetti wasn't even drafted. So, like, Malachi was drafted in the first round, and he's supposed to be a blue chipper kind of guy. He's just a weird player for today's NBA. In some ways, he doesn't fit it. In some ways, this is the thing I've talked about in recent weeks, that sometimes a player in college is a really good college player. Like, they're really suited for that and they kill it. Maybe they're a really good high school level player. But when they get to the NBA, their game doesn't totally translate and they're not as good. They're not as productive. They're not as helpful to the team in some ways. And it could be all kinds of different reasons. It could be the game's just too big. It's too strong. The defenders are too quick to get on you, and your old tricks that you used in other levels just don't work at this level because the competition is just there. There's always some sort of reasons for this kind of stuff. And the players don't know where their ceiling is. They can feel like in their body that they're unlimited, that they could do anything. And Malachi probably feels this way. But there may be a reality that hits his head at some point, and this is it. This is the furthest you can go as far as the heights in your basketball career and what you can accomplish. But for some reason, I believe in him, and there's something about him and the way they trust him and want him to succeed that something's going to happen. Something's going to give, and we're going to see it one way or another this year. I really do feel like it. Yeah. Tom Duke saying, exactly, Monty. I always going to jump on Masai's train. Same thing with Svi. Yeah. See, Tom's saying the same thing. It's like, listen, there's going to be a huge sections of the Raptors fan base that are going to be down on if Svi shows back up at training camp and he's trying to make the team. They're going to be down on him right away. Some people are down on Malachi, too, in the same kind of way. So Shane Waters is here. Happy Saturday, friends. Love to Malachi. Man's on fire right now. He wants it, and he's going to have him a season. Malachi's so smart. Listen, this is the smart thing that he's doing this summer is he's taking every single opportunity to showcase who he truly is. When it started in Seattle with the Pro-Am up there, it was 73 points. He went to Drew League, dropped another 50 points. Now he's killing it in the Rico Hines runs this week, showing some really good highlights. Like, listen, this is good competition at Rico Hines. This is NBA level competition that's guarding him, and he's crossing them up and going around them and laying it in. He's bombing deep threes. He's doing stuff like that. So this is really good. And I really like that he's going to be playing at the Pro-Am here in Toronto at Maple Leaf Gardens later this month. I believe August the 20th. There will be that Pro-Am at Maple Leaf Gardens, and Malachi Flynn is one of the few names that's already announced for it. So He's got work to do, he's got things to happen, and when he gets the opportunity, he needs to be completely ready. Part of the problem is the opportunities come for him in the last 2 years. One of them was in Tampa, a shitty team, everybody getting COVID. He had to play a lot, and he's got good numbers at different times. He got his career high at 22 points during that season. He had to, fill in a lot of time because there were a lot of guys missing. But once again, he wasn't that efficient and stuff like that. So we had to get him in smaller doses, hopefully more efficient in smaller doses last year. And that didn't totally happen either. There were difference, like most of the spot duty he did last year wasn't that successful. But when Fred did get hurt and he had to start the game a couple of games after Fred got hurt, and then he got hurt. That was horrible because he actually had his chance to go with it then, and he was looking good, and he was actually playing really well around that time. I think it was in April or May of this year. And it just sucks. That's what I'm saying. Injury can really mess guys up with timing. Well, you can ask DJ Wilson when he got his G League contract come up and play for us, and then he was ready to play, and then boom, he got COVID too, and then he got hurt the second time we brought him in. It's like he had really bad timing last season also. Well, Malachi had really bad luck in timing also too. And Chris even talked about it, Chris Boucher on his Hustle Play podcast. He said, I was felt so bad for Malachi. Here he is. He's finally getting his chance. Fred's hurt. And then boom, he gets hurt himself. And Chris was like, I felt so bad for Malachi at that time. And it's true. I mean, it's just sometimes this is something that they say, like Nick said this at his lectures in Hungary. This is something I remember. He said, one of the things about being a good NBA player is being physically strong and able to play and be present and be there for games. That this is something that's important. And I mean, it's true. We talked about this all the time. Certain players get labeled as being fragile or hurt all the time. Anthony Davis. But that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like, you don't want that label. You don't want to be hurt at the wrong times. That's why it's really impressive. Somebody like LeBron James, who's played so many games and barely been hurt his whole entire career. That it is something about having a big, strong frame and big body that is just can take it all and stuff like that and deal with it and thrive in the physical NBA and stuff. That's really good. And some guys just don't have that at some point. This is part of the reason why I don't think Chet's going to be totally who everybody thinks Chet's going to be, Chet Holmgren. Is that his frame does not look strong. He looks fragile. He looks like he's not going to be able to be physically able to handle the NBA. Is what I'm going to say right now. I'm sticking to this. I don't give a shit how good he looks offensively. He's going to be a real problem for them defensively. All right, let's keep going. Let's see what you guys are saying. Everybody's saying what's up. Let's go. Monty's saying Scotty at 6'10", just bullying people. Siakam at 6'9" is unstoppable. And now you got add Koloko 7-1 with the 23rd pick. We're going to be crushing teams. Yeah, it's the 33rd pick, Monty. Not even the 23rd pick. He was the 33rd pick. It's crazy. Yeah, going along with what I was just talking about frames and size and being able to take the physicalness. I watched the interview with Scotty's trainer, Brian Macon, yesterday. Really good interview. And I really impressed with Emmett Mann, like really good interview skills, buddy. And, I like that you keep to it and it's not all about you. There's too many Raptors content interviewers that are asking questions that are really, they're too much themselves, but you do a really good job. I'm impressed with you at Yahoo Canada Sports. That was a really good interview with Brian Macon. And he was saying that, listen, Scotty has a frame that's already built for the NBA. And we need to realize this, that as much as I talk about these guys that have detriments and problems with maybe their height, their size, they don't really have NBA bodies. Scotty does. It's the exact opposite. He didn't even have really a college body. He has an NBA body right now. And it's really, really good. I'm getting giddy a little bit about forecasting what Scotty's going to be like, because listen, the man's only going to get stronger. He's only going to get more muscle. He could get a little bit taller, and he's just going to be so nasty. And his trainer said a lot of interesting things in that interview that really speak to him and who he is and stuff like that. Like stuff that last season, Scotty was not directed. He did not do things totally purposeful. He was really kind of winging it on the court last year. And that they're going to be more and more trying to figure out his offense and really trying to figure out his spots and letting him be more I keep saying it, purposeful, more like intentional with what he's doing with his movements and his what his goals are in that moment stuff. Really, really good interview. And this dude is saying that, like, listen, he's just got to get really good decision making and all kinds of things and stuff like that. I'm super, super excited about what Scotty Barnes is going to be becoming. That I really do feel like Scotty is going to end up being like the level of superstar, like LeBron, like Magic, like Larry, like these other people. And people may think I'm crazy and really positive just because I'm a Raptor fan, but I really truly believe this, that there's certain ingredients about him that are kind of very dominant and that we're not totally like seeing, like we may be seeing as Raptor fans, but other fans of other nations and the NBA media don't totally want to see it completely. They see that there's something there, but they don't really understand how badass and how crazy it's going to be. Because, like, seriously, this guy's going to have a huge impact on the whole team. Like, it really is. Oh my gosh. It's going to be, and he comes NBA ready. He came NBA frame. Like, at the end of last year, was he getting tired like the other rookies? Was he getting tired like the vets? No, Scotty got stronger and stronger near the end of the season. And this is something that Brian Macon said, that he built his body to be able to take the punishment, and that Scotty's very strong. And that in some ways, when people get tired or they get beat down during the NBA season, he doesn't, he takes it and he keeps going with it. This is him in his base year, rookie year, with not as much muscle, more like skinny, baby fat. That's him last year. We already see this summer he looks bigger and stronger. That's what I'm saying. This dude is built and sturdy, and he can take the punishment. I wouldn't be surprised if Scotty's the kind of player like LeBron, that he stays in, he plays most of the seasons, and that he doesn't have very many injuries or have injury problems in his career. Knock on wood. Let's keep that going that way and stuff like that. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. All right, let's see. Monique saying we're all Malachi Flynn fans. Most of us are. I wasn't totally at times. Like, I was confused when Eric Flynn would diss Nick Nurse and being like that and stuff like that. It pissed me off. And in some ways, that's how he hurt Malachi. His fans turned on Malachi when Eric Flynn opened his mouth. That it's like, look, we like you, Malachi, but your dad's a problem. He's annoying. I want him to go away. And if you have to go away to make him go away, that was kind of the way I was thinking at times with this. It's like, we don't need this kind of thing. What I'm going to do tomorrow for the Sunday special report is really fun. I was thinking about this and like watching Nick Nurse's lectures this week and learning all about how he coaches and does the way things he does. I want to do my own lecture tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a lecture for sports franchises in general, not just for NBA franchises, for NHL, for MLB, for NFL, any kind of sports franchise. I'm going to teach a seminar on how not to be a dumpster fire. That's right. Tomorrow, Sunday special report, how not to be a dumpster fire if you're a sports franchise, and how to build a good quality franchise like the most valuable sports franchise in Canada, the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. Woo. All right, let's keep going. Tom Duke saying, after watching videos about Gabe Brown, I'm rooting for him too. Pretty driven and hard not to like his attitude and abilities. He's a real sleeper that might make the most of his chance. I hope so too. I mean, he's definitely got things to play for. He's definitely very talented, like athletically. And it looks like there's some interesting stuff with him. This is the thing. Every single year, young men come into the NBA and they fight for a spot. They fight for a role. They fight for a place on a franchise. And there's no guarantees. We get new crops every season. And some of them will only be around for a season. Some of them will, that is it. That's all they get in the NBA. Maybe they get a little trial with one team and that's it. They're gone. So that's what we have to realize, that new people come in and some people leave. And that's just how it goes. The NBA is a cutthroat business. It's the hardest place to make it and get in there in some ways in pro sports because there's less roster spots. In the NFL, there's so many roster spots. How many players are on an NFL team? How many players are on a hockey team? How many players are on a baseball team? So it's really hard to make the NBA because there's even less spots on that. So that's a huge accomplishment. And once again, I want to say that when players get to certain levels athletically in their profession, like seriously, just making the G League you're very much in the top 500 of the greatest, basketball players in the world. That if you make that level, that's pretty damn good. But it's like there's levels on levels to things and stuff like that. And some players are able to transcend them, like Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, but some players are not, and they do go away. And that's the sad thing about training camp. We'll have to see what happens and stuff like that. I hope Gabe Brown has some good things happen to him. 905 will be a good thing for him this year. Hopefully he can kill it on our 905 team. And we still got to find out what Koloko is going to do and where he's going to be. If he's fully 905 this year, he could really dominate down there, maybe be the MVP of the G League and the Defensive Player of the Year in the G League also. That'd be awesome. All right, let's see. Monique's bringing up Kyle's interview with Vince is pretty awesome. Brian Macon is very serious. I love Brian Macon's interview first. Brian reiterated that him and Scotty really are very grateful and thankful that he's on Toronto. That if out of all the places that he could have gone, this is the one they wanted. This is the place they wanted him to land, and they're so grateful and stuff. It's really fun to hear Brian Macon talk about, that and things like he says. I'm really excited about being in Toronto more, helping him train and doing things like that. And he had really good insight. I highly recommend this interview on like the changes that Scotty made during the season under the coaches of the Raptors and what he saw. Like he said that they're using him with his left hand way more than he trained him with his left hand. Because Brian Macon's been training with Scotty Barnes since he was like 12. So he's really knows Scotty for a long, long time and his personality profile and stuff like that. Now, about the Kyle and Vince interview is really good. They talk about golf a lot, a lot. And, they show off the Kyle Lowry golf bags. That company that Kyle's doing is a passion project. It's cool as hell. I can totally understand why he's doing it. Like they gave the really cool bag to Steph Curry with all the different patches on it and stuff like that. The one for Vince and stuff, really cool golf bags. And they talk about a lot of interesting things. Like I really enjoy the part where they talk about Scotty Barnes and they're both kind of gushing about how great he is. Like this is a big deal. There are so many NBA legends and different all-stars and greats that are talking about Scotty, whether it's Kevin Durant, whether it's, people like Dr. J, Kyle Lowry, they're all noticing him and understanding him, and they're really impressed, and they think he's special and stuff like that. It's going to be really fun and interesting to see and stuff like that. More and more Scotty getting better and better. But the one thing about the Vince Kyle interview that was fun to me, like Kyle's the badass. I love Kyle so much. He's so much Toronto man and like the GOAT. He's definitely the GOAT. But they debated this for a second, and Vince would not give it to him. Vince would say, "Now I will agree that you are one of the greatest Raptors of all time." I was like, "Motherfucker, he is the greatest Raptor of all time." Vince, just fucking say it. But he wouldn't say it because he's there, and he, in his own mind and his ego, he thinks he might be. And then they started talking about statues in front of the arena. He's like, "We should put a statue of both of us out in front of the arena." And she's like, "Motherfucking Vince, shut up. You get what you get from the Raptors as far as things at this point. Kyle can have whatever he wants. He can order it on a menu and say, yeah, I want this and this and this, and we will give it to him. Whether it's a road in town, whether it's a statue, whether it's his jersey up in the rafters, his number retired, he gets what he wants. Now, you, Vince, you don't necessarily get what you want. Listen, I'm sorry. We should not retire your number. First of all, we have people that have worn 15 since you played for us. Now, nobody's worn number 7 since he's left. So it's a different thing, Vince. You are important to our history and all this kind of stuff, but still, listen, it's kind of, it pissed me off that I felt like he was being disrespectful to the greatest Raptor of all time. Because when it gets right down to it, sure, you won dunk contests with us. Sure, you put us on the map. We have a lot of great Canadian players in the league now because of you. But Kyle Lowry's the one who won a championship in Toronto. And I could still tell in this interview that it pains Vince. Like he roots against the Raptors. I'm sorry, guys. It's pretty much clear at this point. He can say he's happy for them and he's going for them and stuff like he's not. He's lying. He does not root for the Raptors. He wants the Raptors to be piss poor and bad. In fact, the way he talks about it, you can tell. He's like, yeah, the Raptors have always been kind of like, he doesn't have a respect for the franchise. And that's just the pure truth. And the other thing about it is, Vince, you're not very good at interviewing. Like you stutter a lot and you're all over the place and you're not very focused when you're in there. Like your podcast is kind of a train wreck. Like if anybody needs to be broadcasting and needs to be on the air and talking, it's Kyle Lowry because he's very, very clear and he's just very professional. So like Vince, you're kind of a yammering idiot in some ways on your podcast. I'll just say that. So, but yeah, that bugged me. I think Vince, you should have just straight up just been humble and said, you know what, I really think you're the greatest Raptor of all time. But you couldn't do that. That shows something about your character and stuff like that. And Kyle was uncomfortable in this situation. He was kind of saying, you know, we'll let the fans decide this because he knows what the fans believe about the greatest Raptor of all time. But it's kind of fun and interesting to see these two legends of the Raptors talk in this conversation and get this out there. But it really told me a lot. Once again, I think Vince is just kind of an asshole, and he's kind of, you know what it is? The tell I got from that interview with him is he's kind of full of shit, is what it is. Vince Carter is just a person who's just, you know, some people that you just talk to, you know that they're just kind of full of shit. Well, Vince is kind of just full of shit, is what basically what saying. And I don't mean like he's an asshole or anything. I mean that he's just like he kind of talks out of his ass, and that he's not really that I don't know. It's hard to describe. He's kind of wavering and kind of like not really like fully like trustworthy or like stuff like that. He'll say something, but he doesn't mean it. That's what I'm saying. That's the tells I get from him, just from my training and like finding liars and who's telling the truth and shit like that. Vince is very much like duplicitous with what he's saying and what he really feels underneath. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's keep going. But yeah, great interviews, both of them. Monique, thanks for posting both of them. And people are talking a lot about the Vince Carter Kyle Lowry interview because they did talk about him returning and retiring with us. And like this just didn't happen. It didn't work. If Kyle wanted it to happen and Vince wanted it to happen, why wasn't Jeremy Lin Vince Carter? That could have happened at that point in time. And you know what? Vince would have had a ring. So you know what? I bet it was. Vince didn't believe that we had a chance to win. Vince didn't believe in the Raptors. So that's why he wouldn't come here and try and do this or finish his career with us, because he's never believed that we would ever win a championship. You know, you'd see it in the podcast when he's talking to Kyle. He's like, who would have ever thought Toronto would ever win a championship is what he says on there. And I'm like, well, you motherfucker, you played for us. You should have been trying to get a championship when you were on the team with us. You never wanted a championship in Toronto. That was never something in your DNA. You're the exact opposite of Kyle Lowry and Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet. You didn't give a shit about getting a championship here. It wasn't even in your realm of like thinking of possible. See, that's the difference. That's the difference between you, Vince, and the current Raptors and stuff like that. So, all right, let's see. Adriana's here. Good to see you, Adriana. Eric Flynn is just like any other parent who wants their child to succeed. It's just more in the public eye, and he went about it the wrong way. Yeah, I will agree with this. He did definitely go about it in the wrong way. Sure, a parent wants to help their child any kind of way they can, but sometimes parents make it worse for their children, either by embarrassing them or, you know, having good intentions to do things like that. The road to hell is paved with those good intentions, is what I'll say right here. And it's just like, listen, I don't mind him being critical and saying stuff like, you know, you should play my son more, Nick Nurse. But when he starts making insults, like calling him Nick Nursery and like being little pet childish shit, that's a little bit worse, because it's like, listen, you don't need to insult the coach. That's not going to help your son's situation when you call him Nick Nursery and shit like that. That is the wrong approach in anything. Like if I learned anything from the Nick Nurse coaching course in Hungary, is that, listen, this is what he said more about what he talked about with the referees. It's like he understands that Tony Brothers can be a problem. He understands that Ed Malloy can be a problem, but he also understands that these gentlemen will be refereeing games that are in the finals and in the playoffs and important times, that you need to have a relationship with Tony Brothers and Scott Foster, all the main important refs that ref the main important games at the end of the year. because if you have that relationship with them and it's good, that will help you then. Just ask Chris Paul. He knows firsthand how negative it can be. So Nick will look at when he sees the ref report in the morning, he's more likely sometimes to look at how long the ref has been reffing. Like if we have an experienced ref crew with Tony Brothers and Rodney Mott and Scott Foster, he's going to be like, okay, these are good refs. These are refs that we need to get along with. We need to listen to. We need to try and get good favor with, all these kind of things, because we want to build a relationship with these refs over the course of the year and be good with them and stuff like that. This is the way he's thinking about it. Now, if he sees somebody like Evan, what's his name? Evan Young, I think it was his name or something. It's Evan, the young referee that we had this season that fucked up. And Nick Nurse was all over him. And he even talked shit about him in the press conference afterwards. Now he sees a referee. I keep saying coach. I mean referee. If he sees a referee with less experience on the ref report, like somebody who's only got like 2 to 5 years in the league, he will look at that as like, this is somebody maybe I can bully. He actually said this. It's like, if I see a young ref, I might be able to bully them into making calls for us, is what he said. This is one of his methods and stuff like that. So he likes seeing the younger refs because he can try and manipulate them and kind of go and maybe get some favor from them by being like a little bit of a bully, he said. But with the older refs, it really is about finessing good relationships with them as much as possible over the course of the year, so that when the games that really count late in the playoffs and you got Scott Foster calling the game, he may have some positive feelings towards you guys and good with you guys. They really do kind of like kiss their asses. I'm not going to lie. They kiss the main important refs' asses to get good calls. So it's stuff like that. So very, very interesting stuff there. Yeah, Eric Flynn just went about it the wrong way. It's really what it is, Adriana. He didn't need to do this. Like, it's not going to help Malachi. They're going to give him the time when they can. It's not like they're holding him away like he thinks he is. And it's just that it doesn't fit the system. It doesn't fit the logic of what they want to do in the game to put Malachi in for a lot of minutes. So he's really got to take the crumbs that he gets and blow up off of those crumbs to be able to ingratiate himself and get more rotational minutes and stuff. And he hasn't totally done that. Tom Duke's saying, House Raptor basketball, Adriana, he was probably vocal at Malachi's games as a kid. Yeah, sometimes parents, fathers, mothers can become that hockey dad, and that's really not healthy, toxic. Coming to the game, yelling, getting in a ref's face, fighting with refs, fighting with other parents of other teams. These kind of people, you don't want to be that kind of competitor, that kind of crazy about your kid and how they're doing and stuff like that. There's lines. There's like it's go to a certain point of competition and stuff like that, and that's it. Monty's saying, I think Scotty is going to be a mega star, never mind superstar. I believe this too, that he's special, that he's the kind of guy that only comes around like once in a generation, that he is kind of like his LeBron now. I really do believe this. And people may think we're crazy and stuff like that, but part of the reason why they'll say that is this: they don't want to believe it's true. That they don't want Toronto to have landed the next guy that's kind of like that in this league. And so they'll poo-poo it. They'll say everything they can to discount it. They'll pump up Cade and Evan in relation to him. They'll say these guys, maybe partly to try and hurt Scotty's feelings and his confidence, but he doesn't give a shit. I'm going to tell you right now, Scotty's coming to take what he wants. This is really a part of his mentality. And we've seen it in the 2K's Twitch streams and stuff like that he goes and gets what he wants. It's like some people have said this year, it's not about whether Scotty's going to be an all-star or not. It's about whether Scotty wants to be an all-star. He said last year he wanted to be rookie of the year. Well, he went and made himself rookie of the year. So if Scotty wants to be an all-star this year, he's going to be an all-star. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's not even up to us. It's not up to the fans. It's not up to the NBA. It's whether Scotty wants it. If Scotty wants it, he's going to go take it. So let's apply this to not just all-stars, individual recognition for him. Let's apply this to team winning. If Scotty wants to win NBA championships, he's going to go take them. Let's just put it that way, because that's the player he is. Brian Macon laid it all out for me in his interview with Amit Mann. It's like he goes and gets what he wants, that he's super competitive, and that's how he looks at things. He's really going to go take what he wants in the NBA over the years that he plays in it. and we're along for the ride, and it's going to be fun. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Yeah, Monique saying, did anyone see Rico's last speech? I'm not sure. The last speech for the week at Rico Hines. They finished up yesterday. Earl Watson did all his thank yous to UCLA for hosting. Seemed like a really successful Rico Hines. It's the kind of thing where like they didn't get to do it for a couple years, just like with Caravana. And it's just really fun. Everybody's so happy to be back. Everybody's just like, this is feels normal. You know, we didn't do this for a few years and this sucks. And but now it's like a joyous celebration to be back and involved in it. And like so many of the fans are going crazy online. They love the Rico Hines runs. They are legendary. They're kind of something that's really important about the summer. And when they've been gone, people have really missed them. And now that they're back, and all of a sudden Rico's an assistant coach for the Raptors, and the whole Raptors team is there working out with them. Everybody in the down south is like, why are all the Raptors here? Like, does he have some sort of contract with the Raptors or something? They don't even know that he's their assistant coach yet. They don't even know. They're like, why are all the Raptors at Rico Hines? We don't understand. Well, they don't pay attention to our news and understand that he's actually one of our coaches at this point. So, oh man, so successful and so badass for the Raptors to basically have a mini training camp at Rico Hines this year, and having them play and run together on court with each other, getting reps, getting more time together. This is so valuable. And like, listen, I'm sure this week these guys bonded really strong. They're in LA. It's a little bit different than being in Toronto, a little bit different than being on the road. And they're all kind of like hanging out. It was Scotty's birthday this week. They probably celebrated that. You know, they've been really on radio silence for most of this week, very quiet, nothing on Instagram, hardly at all from any of them in a lot of ways, and just, you know, showing up, running basketball runs and putting in work. And they are all putting in lots of work, lots of work. Now, I'm sure Rico Hines' last speech probably had some cuss words and was probably like very encouraging and like, you know, telling you to get out there and make your future, make yourself who you should be to be successful and stuff like that. All right, let's see. Monty's saying Scotty will end up being the best draft pick in franchise history. Watch. I could get behind this. I could believe this. I mean, he is a fourth pick in the draft. That is very high up in the draft. That's a high draft pick. And then, like, listen, the things about Scotty is like I said, physically he came in already for the NBA. He was ready for the NBA in his first year. That really says something that like his body's going to change even more and stuff like that. And there's just so much. I don't know. It's unknown. And I hope nothing weird happens in any kind of weird way to derail anything. But it really does look like he's set up to do some amazing things. In fact, Brian Macon talked about this. He said that at every level, Scotty's always sought out some of the best coaching, the best possible development people to be around at whatever level. Brian himself is one of those levels. Things, and like whether it's like the people that he went to high school with at Mount Verde, those people, those coaches were high level coaches, really high level development coaches, started working with him in his preteens. And you know, and he's continued. He goes to Florida State. He goes and plays for Leonard Hamilton for a year. And that is like the program in college basketball that is most known for very much orienting their whole development with their players to get them ready for the NBA. And now he's on the Raptors, who have one of the best development staffs and programs in the NBA also. It's like he has had top-notch, grade A, five-star development coaches around him for like 10 years now. I mean, he was involved in the Olympics and the Team USA stuff. So he's around really good coaches then. So he's just always had super badass development coaches around him, accelerating himself. And then one of the things that Brian said that is interesting about Scotty is he doesn't need to learn skills. He's really very gifted skill wise, whether it's dribbling the ball, handling the ball, whether it's like positioning, whether it's just those kind of things. And the things that Scotty needs to get good at is tinkering and fine tuning stuff. It's almost like Scotty is already at the level Pascal is at right now. It's like he has to skip the whole like G League 905 part of Pascal's career, the struggles, and then the getting the most improved player, and then getting the All-Star, and then the All MVP, All NBA. You know, Scotty has skipped that whole process that Pascal had to go through in his first 4 or 5 years of his career, and he has it right away at his rookie year. And that he doesn't have to learn the skills and the things like that. He's very good with all the skill stuff. He's learning at an advanced level already at a rookie after just 1 year and stuff like that. That's the difference. He's accelerated and he's ahead. And in some ways, he's at the same place in his career as where Pascal is. He's fine tuning and discovering and getting better with certain skills instead of having to learn certain basics and get really good at them. That's a real advantage, like right there, that he's accelerated in his development. It's really, really good. Lolita is saying, as Scotty's trainer, is he also a Raptors coach? No, Brian Macon is not with the Raptors. He's a personal coach that he found like really early on, like somebody he found in Florida that he started working with, and they just stuck. He's really somebody that Scotty really likes working with, and I'm sure he's brought him up to Toronto and had him here with him during the off season when he does workouts and stuff. He's in there helping him, and he was very open and talking about the different things, like the stuff like how the Raptors changed his shot this year from what before, like the way he worked with him with his shot, and how the Raptors changed his development in the past year with their coaches. He can tell everything they did, like within Scotty, the differences in the way he's moving, the way he shoots the ball, and things like that. These are all things that are on top of things that he's taught him over the years and stuff like that. And he can see, and he's actually really impressed with what the Raptors have done with Scotty over the last year. And some of it, he said, that is like a little bit going fast, like things that he didn't think Scotty would be doing so soon. And that if he had been developing him, he wouldn't have developed him so quick or been so daring like the Raptors have been. And a lot of it specifically has to do with his left hand. Like we saw Scotty freak out about doing the little left-handed jump hook when he watched his highlights and reacted to him. It's because he does not use his left hand very much, and the Raptors are developing his left-handed shot and using his left hand way more this year than he did before even coming to the NBA. He didn't use his left hand hardly at all in college or any other level, and that this is kind of one of the ways the Raptors can improve an already super great player is like, okay, let's get you good with your left hand and stuff like that. That's the one thing he said. So, but Brian did say he's going to be spending a lot more time in Canada here in Toronto with Scotty. And he's kind of just his personal coach is basically what it is. Monique saying, predict Malachi Flynn's Pro-Am stats for August 20th. All right. Well, we got to give him at least a 50 piece, right, Monique? Because that's what we're expecting from him now. Malachi, you have a new standard now. This is so badass, Mr. 73. We don't expect 73, but you got to get between 50 and 73. I want to see a 50 piece from him here in Toronto, especially because it's going to be here in Toronto, and there'd be Raptor fans at the game. And it'd be really, really, and once again, another sign of good faith with believing in Malachi is if he can go to Maple Leaf Gardens on August the 20th and drop 50 points in the Pro-Am game here in Toronto in front of Toronto fans, that'll be really good. So I'll bet you he'll go all out in that game, and we'll see. All right, let's see. Somebody else has put in some points there. David says 4 points, 35 assists. That's what he needs to do. Well, unfortunately, that's the thing, and this is part of the reason why I hate to say it, that maybe Malachi's not fit for the NBA, is that he is a shooting guard in a point guard's body. Once again, it's a similar thing to Armani Brooks. These guys are more shooters than they are distributors. I know that Malachi can distribute the ball, and he's very good at that. But at this point in his NBA career, he's trying to stay above water and survive. So he has to make himself look good as far as shooting and getting his shots in. It really sucks because in some ways, I feel like if he could get more of his assists up and show that he's more of a team player and passing around, that would help. But he's got his back against the wall, and he's pretty much got to be a flamethrower himself to earn his spot at this point. It could be that he earns a spot by being a really good shooter, and then like he sticks and he's around still, and then we see him transition more into being a playmaker and passing more because he has more security on the team because he's ingratiated himself by being very good offensively. So I think you're right, David. It'd be interesting to see him get a stat line like that, but I don't think that'll happen. It's not going to happen. And that's a weird balance. That's overbalanced the other way. He'd have to get way more points than that. But 35 assists, that's insane. 35 assists, that's like, there's very few NBA players that got 30 assists in a game. Yeah, so 35 is a lot. Tom Duke saying 35, that's got to be a record. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do it, Mal. That's what Tom's saying. Okay. David's also saying we need him to be able to play make. Those 70 points are games are great, but useless at the same time. I agree with this. It's really impressive in Pro-Am, but is that ever going to happen in an NBA game? I mean, he's not James Harden. He's not LeBron James in that kind of way to do that. So I think David's right. It's like impressive, but it's also kind of like it's the setting, it's where it is, and this kind of thing. Does it translate to anything that's important in the NBA? That's the important thing there. Guardian Transit, good to see you again. Flynn playing summer ball is still much different than playing NBA ball. He still needs to show up during the season with consistency. Yeah, and David agrees. I agree with this also. Consistency is our big word for our bench. This is why Jeff Doughton won in Summer League, and he's on our team as a two-way. Consistency. I don't give a shit if these guys have one impressive game out of 10. They shit the bed 9 games. That is not what we want anymore. I want them to have not 10 C level games instead of one A level game and then 9 F games. We need 10 C games right in the middle. I don't give a shit if they're like getting 20 points. Just contribute, make winning decisions, and like the best plays, and you'll be fine. Raptors bench this year. But we've got better vets coming off the bench this year. I expect them to be badass and be fine either way, no matter what. So consistency is a big part of what we need from the bench for sure. Monique saying day 2 of the museum, guys, go check it out. Yeah, the museum opened last night. Had their opening at Spadina Museum with the pictures, the paintings. They're badass. There's Justin Champagny, Gary Trent, all this kind of stuff. Very interesting stuff. Highly recommend it. Spadina Museum downtown. Shane Waters saying 100%. Go check it out. Monique saying, so I've done a deep dive on Jack Devlin, Matt's son. A disability or not, pretty cool. Yeah, I know a little bit about this young man and stuff like that. He was going to Iowa or something. He was going to some school and he just graduated actually. And he studied like sports athletics, something. And yeah, real inspiring story. Like, it really shows more about the life of Matt Devlin. And like he has various sons. He has different sons that are doing different things. One of them just got drafted into the NHL this year. He has one son that just got drafted to the Penguins, I believe. And yeah, and then he has his other sons also. He has multiple sons and stuff like that, all different achievement stuff. And he celebrates all of them in a really loving, awesome way and stuff like that. I love Matt Devlin. When he first started as the Raptors announcer, I hated him because I was like, this isn't Chuck. And this pissed me off that Chuck went to Chicago. And it took me a little while to warm up to Matt Devlin, but now he's crazy. Like last season was one of the best seasons that he's ever done as a sportscaster. I'm sorry, Matt Devlin, you were so entertaining and so off the cuff, just kind of silly. Like I said, at times I felt like you guys were eating marijuana brownies before the telecast because you're so loose and crazy with what you would say and the fun that you have with the guys that you call the games with, whether it's Jack or Alvin, whoever. It's just hilarious, man. Kudos to Matt Devlin and just being a good dad and being proud of his sons and raising these sons to succeed and do these awesome, amazing things with their lives and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really a big fan of Jack Devlin. Also, and the things that I've learned about him and the things that he has succeeded and achieved in his young life already. And we'll be real excited to see what Jack has in store going into the future with his life and the things he's doing and stuff like that. Patrick Douglas is saying Scotty Barnes just gets it. A few human beings get things by learning from tutors very well, and Scotty is one of those principles. Brian Macon said this, in the interview. He said that Scotty's very detail oriented. Like he picks up on everything. Like he sees everything and remembers everything. Like he's really sharp. In fact, this makes sense now. Like if he's in the Twitch and he's playing video games, he's half playing the video game, but he's also checking the chat and he's recognizing that he's seeing me every time in there and stuff like that. He's keeping track. He's paying attention. He is good with details, and that's going to translate to how he develops as an NBA player. That in some ways, I say this sometimes, and this is very true, that Scotty Barnes isn't playing checkers like the rest of the league. He's playing chess. That in some ways, mentally, a lot of these players would be on the level of checkers as far as strategy and deep like thinking and like in depth like details and stuff. Scotty's playing chess while these other motherfuckers are playing checkers. Let's just put it that way. And that Brian said that one of the big things that Scotty is going to get better and better at is the chess game of the game. And that last year he was just coasting. He didn't get any plays called for him. He wasn't really imprinting his will on the game like you may see LeBron do from time to time or big superstars do. He hasn't even started to do that. We may start to see that this year, that Brian expects him to be more aggressive in certain ways offensively and in the department of him forcing his will on the game at moments when he wants to. And when he wants to win, when he wants to do whatever, we should expect this from Scotty. That there's going to be these bully moments, these aggressive moments. They were talking a lot about his mid-range, like post moves, like mimicking Kawhi. In fact, Brian Macon, the man who's worked with Scotty for years now, compares Scotty to Kawhi Leonard like I do. That he said, look, the best comparison overall for him is Magic Johnson. But there's things that he can do offensively near the basket that are very Kawhi-like also. And that we need to realize that in some ways he's a hybrid. He's a bit Magic for sure, but he's got skills that Kawhi has that we need to realize. And a lot of it has to do with his humongous hands and stuff like that. And a lot of it has to do with his overwhelming strength and power in his frame and being able to bully people around in the lane and get really easy short shots, just shooting over people. We're going to expect to see this a lot more this year. And that's what he's predicting for him next year. He said, prediction for Scotty in the new year, all of his numbers will go up across the board. He's saying this, first of all, but they're not going to go up in the way where he's taking away from anybody else. He explained how his numbers can go up and everybody else is still doing the same stuff because of the system of the Raptors and how they do. But his numbers are going to go up because he's going to be more efficient. They're going to be looking at him being efficient with the amount of shots that he gets, being more efficient with those shots, being more efficient with decision making, being more efficient on defense and positioning and being in the right places and working off of each other in the defense. He will become more efficient, is what they're expecting within what he's already doing. And that will show gains in his stats and him looking more and more like a superstar. Like if he just shoots a little bit better, like Brian said, he thought that Scotty shot super well for his first year in the NBA, like above what they thought he would. And that they're really happy with how well Scotty shot his rookie year. But they think that he can be even more efficient and smart with his decisions. He's already super smart and ahead for where he is in his career and stuff like that. This is so exciting. Like we're just scratching the surface. Really, really are. Patrick's right. The man is detail oriented and he's playing chess while these other motherfuckers playing checkers is what I'm going to say right now. Because he can start breaking down the game like LeBron does and look at like, well, what does my team need the most in this situation? And really like get certain tools in his bag out and use them specifically for certain things at that time. But it's like, oh, we really need a defensive stop. Well, I'm going all out on defense, not letting them score. And that Brian really thinks that Scotty can be an even better defensive player and getting more known for his defense, like even more noticed and looked at because of how good he is defensively. That he's going to get better defensively this year. He said, not he's going to get better offensively. He's going to get even better defensively. And this all makes sense. Kareem Thomas, good to see you. It's been a bit. I missed you, buddy. Do you think Fred will take a back seat this year and facilitate more? I guess that depends on if he gets that new contract extension. Thank you, sir. I just answered my own question. This is the thing. Kareem doesn't need me. He can start his own channel. He's answered his own questions. All right, listen. I'm going to inverse what you're asking because I don't think it's actually true. Freddie's going to take a back seat this year, but it's not that he's going to take a back seat from shooting. He's going to take a back seat from being the point guard. He's going to take a back seat from being the facilitator. He's not going to be more of a facilitator. He's going to be more of the person shooting. And Scotty's going to be the point guard. Scotty's going to be the point guard this year. He's going to be bringing the ball up the court, and Fred's going to be defensive point guard, but he's going to be offensive shooting guard. and that Scotty will bring the ball up the court. He's going to draw attention by driving the lane, doing something, maybe working off Pascal, and they're going to be looking for Fred to kick it out to, like a Steve Kerr would, like back in the day. John Paxson, Steve Kerr, Chicago Bulls kind of shit. Fred's going to be out on the outside looking to get set shots. And he's not going to have to work for his shots. That's the thing. These guys are going to get so much attention with defenses collapsing on them into the lane that Fred just has to spot out outside, and they need to know where he is, and they just throw it out to him, and he's going to bomb threes. So that's really what I think is going to happen, Kareem, is that Fred's numbers may go up slightly offensively just because he's shooting more and not passing it more. That the conduit will be Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam getting him the ball and feeding him the ball. They'll get the assists, and he's going to get the shoot, is what's going to happen with Fred this year. That's what's going to happen right there. And the contract extension stuff's just going to happen. Fred's going to get paid. He's going to be fine. They've already figured it all out. It's just they're waiting for time to pass and get it done and stuff like that. Fred knows exactly what's going to happen with him and Bobby and Masai. There's no question about it. They know what's up. G's saying, we have to be fair. If he comes off the bench and they can't shoot, he needs to balance shooting if he is the better one with making plays. If the bench has scorers and shooters, yes, he needs to pass more. Okay, we're talking about Malachi Flynn, I'm pretty sure G's saying right now. Yeah, it's kind of like a need thing. Like, what do we need at that moment? Do we need his offense because we're having trouble scoring? Then boom, that may be why you bring him in. Like, that may be the decision making between Delano or Malachi. It's like, what do you need in the game right now? Well, I need some 3-point shooting and some dogged defense and possibly some steals. Then maybe you get Malachi. If I need a tall, lanky guy to push the ball, get some rebounds, maybe block some shots, and have a taller team out there, then I put Delano out there. It may be really need based and stuff like that. And I think you're right, G, that like, once again, this is the way every point guard should be. This is what Jeff Dowtin did in Summer League. You have to be able to realize where you need to direct water. Do you need to direct water towards the basket with your own shot and your own offense? Or do you need to direct water to other players and get them going around you and stuff like that? And it really is kind of reading the situation and also the very specific individual situation in the moment each time. That maybe it is a good time for you to shoot right at that moment, Malachi. Don't miss and don't pass it up, but maybe you need to give it up also if you got too much around you and stuff too. So, all right, let's see. G saying Jarrett Culver was in full Raptor gear at Rico runs. Yeah, there's been some talk about this. He's not officially with us in any kind of way. I mean, this could be the kind of thing where he's running with us right now, and then we turn around, we give him an Exhibit 10, kind of like Gabe Brown, and he's on our 905. I don't see this guy having any kind of spot or any kind of invite to try and make the team. That we've got our 20 right now and stuff like that. But it could be that we're keeping him around on the edge just to kind of ingratiate and bring him into the 905 when the season starts and stuff like that. So we could see Culver on 905 this year, but I wouldn't see you're not going to see him in the Raptors. Shane Waters loves Matty D. Let's go, Matty D. Matty D. Ron Jeremy. Ron Jeremy. All right. David S. is saying, I agree, G, and I don't expect him to get those 35 assists. All I'm saying is, in those 4 games he played last year when Fred was out, Flynn actually looked like he was almost ready to be an NBA point guard. I think he runs the offense pretty well. Yeah, that was actually the time where he looked really good. He was balancing scoring with passing, and he looked like a plausible NBA player. He was doing fine. He wasn't making mistakes. He didn't look bad. He was contributing. There were a lot of good things. That's why I was like, yes, Malachi's finally getting his moment. And then, boom, he got hurt. Oh, my gosh. But once again, like Nick said, is like an injury can be a factor in what happens with you in your career. And if you get hurt at the wrong times all the time, that's not good. It's not good. Monique's saying, so finally I saw Gary Trent Jr. work out at 6 a.m. Damn. Yeah, isn't that a cool clip? It's the sun's coming up and he's running around the cones. He's in the sand. It's hard to run in sand. In some ways, I was a little worried about him being out there like that, running in the sand. I was like, don't mess your ankles up or anything like that. Tom Duke's saying Matty D and his wife seem so sweet and good people. Also, no or very few pick and rolling available in the Raptors playbook does not help Malachi's game. Yeah. There, Nick Nurse talked a little bit about his offensive schemes and stuff in Hungary and stuff. He went really in depth and talked about his whole philosophies and why he does certain things and why he doesn't do certain things and stuff like that. I don't know. Malachi doesn't seem like he's very good in the pick and roll in some ways. Like it seems like they should run him in pick and roll more and stuff like that. Let's see. Oh, David's saying, I like the story Brian told about the backboard. Yeah, this is a good thing to bring up. Scotty came in to practice one day and he noticed that they had cleaned the backboard that he had been using in practice. That's how much he pays attention to everything. He's like, wait, the backboard, did you guys clean it or do something to it? You fixed it or something like that. That's the thing. This is somebody who's very self-aware and understanding and taking in everything and really, analyzing it all, putting it through the computer in his brain and getting, and then, hopefully making good decisions in the moment, stuff like that. G saying, yes, Flynn looked pretty good and his handle has improved. For me personally, it was his defense that I wanted to see him work on. Would like to see that part of his game sharpen up. Yeah, his defense is pretty good. Like he's good and up on guys, very annoying. You can see him poke the ball away from guys often, like in games and stuff like that. I don't worry about his defense so much. He's actually a very good defensive guard on the outside. I worry more about mismatches coming about with him. Like if he's in the game, he's okay if he's on a guard, but if they switch him and he's getting posted in the low post all of a sudden, with the center on him, it's not like with Fred out there. Fred is different. As Nick put in Hungary, it's like Fred is not the normal point guard. He considers Freddie to be a part of the positionless scheme, that he can get away with him being in the positionless scheme because he can guard down low because he's so physically strong. He said it in Hungary and stuff like that. Now Malachi is not the same in that. And that could be where part of the problem is if he gets a mismatch and he switched down in the low post and they're trying to post on him. That can be a problem there. But I think he's really good at like guard defensive stuff. Like he's really on guys, like he's right up in them. And he's really good at like doing that Gary Trent poking at the ball, kind of knocking it loose kind of stuff too. So let's see. David S saying, yeah, fair. He's no Fred on defense, but not hopeless. Yeah, he's an okay defender, like for a guard, but he can't do any of the defensive stuff down low. Obviously, he just can't. He's not big enough. But Fred, in some ways, he's a door wedge. He's got some good strength. He's very strong. He can handle big centers still, even though he's a point guard. Let's see. G saying, not hopeless at all. His hand speed looks pretty good. Yeah, that's one of the things. He can get in there, do that whole Gary Trent knock it loose, and all of a sudden it's rolling towards the half court line and they're running around him trying to get it. And then it's a fast break, that kind of stuff. We've seen Malachi do this the first 2 years of his career with the Raptors. So let's see. There's a somebody won Larry O'Brien. Shane saying, I agree. G Malachi's D is the reason he didn't get playing time last year. Nurse will sit your ass even if you got a heater going on the offensive side. This is the prerequisite. You have to have defense first, baby. If you want to be in the Raptors, you cannot play slacking defense and be bad at defense. You're not going to get to play. But I think his defense is fine. That's not really the issue. I think it's really the philosophy of the team has changed right when he showed up. It's not the kind of thing that we were doing. Like maybe when we drafted Malachi Flynn, we really thought about the same kind of like way we did Fred and Kyle. And like, okay, well, now we have Kyle's leaving. We got Fred. Let's have Malachi be Fred for Fred, like Kyle was for Fred. And they kind of wanted to keep that lineage going like this, whereas like, you know what? In some ways, we don't need to keep this going because we have Scotty Barnes all of a sudden. He's the point guard and stuff like that. So it's a tough conundrum. It's bad timing for Malachi. Like if he had come in other eras of the NBA, I think he would have been very much fine. And like if he was on the Raptors in 2007 with Chris Bosh, he would be a badass for us. Like he would be scoring, he would be starting, he would be doing all this stuff. It's just the way the game's evolved. The game is evolving right now. And the Raptors happen to be the very cutting edge and stuff like that. So all right, let's see. Monique saying, do you see Malachi Flynn going back to 9-5 at all this season? No, I don't see that. Like if he's not going to play in summer league and he's not doing these certain things, they really look at him. He's a third-year pro. He's done all that stuff before. And that it may be that he has to go down there because of injury rehab, like any other player might have to. But otherwise, I don't see him playing down there. No, I don't. It's probably because they don't want to hurt his confidence too. It's like it's a confidence thing also to a degree. It's like that's part of the reason why they didn't play him in summer league is a confidence thing. They don't want to put him out there in summer league when they're not playing Scotty in summer league. They're not playing Precious in summer league. Then they're going to put Malachi out there, the third year player, and they got a first year and a second year player that didn't have to play. So it's different things like that. David S is saying, no, Mo, I do not. Seems like we know he can play at that level. He needs to do what he needs to do in the NBA, not the G League. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. David is saying it too, in that in a different way, and it's a similar kind of thing. Malachi Click saying Malachi Flynn is dog shit. Prove me wrong, boys. All right, we got the dissenting voice here. Dude drops 70 against high school players, but when he plays it with Rico Hines, he can't do nothing against NBA talent. Now, that's not totally true, though. He's got some really nice highlights this week at Rico Hines. And like I said, he took Big Four off the dribble and beat his ass to the basket. I look at Scotty Barnes as a premium like defender at this point, and he's so much bigger than Malachi. He's very quick, but still Malachi burned him and went right around him and laid the ball in. He's doing this to James Harden too and stuff like that. I think that our perception about what Malachi is doing at Rico Hines is a little different. Now, I think the perception about the 70 in Seattle is maybe a little accurate. The guys that were guarding him looked like high school players. They didn't look that good and stuff like that. But it is what it is. But yeah, I don't know. Click may be right in some ways that Malachi is not going to be any good. And that this is this. There's a doubter of Malachi and stuff like that. But I don't say prove you wrong. Click. We need Malachi to prove you wrong. Is basically what we're going to say and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. We've seen him burn NBA players at the NBA level. He can do things offensively on the NBA level. It's just that he's still limited in other ways. It sucks. David's like, this is the share love club. Click. Well, we want to be fair and balanced to a degree, and this is why we have Philadelphia fan here all the time. Tom Duke is saying Gary Trent Jr. can't really guard all five spots. Not better on D than Malachi. Who's worse on defense, Malachi or Gary Trent? Interesting question, Tom. Yeah, Gary can't really guard the big centers and stuff like that down low in a lot of ways, but we can hide him in ways that are better and stuff like that. You know, the thing about Gary that's better than Malachi is that he has way more of a mid range. He has way more ability to get space from the defender than Malachi. Malachi can't do the sidestep stuff that Gary does, and some of the stuff that he does to get free and open and stuff like that. But on defense, I think Gary's a better defender than Malachi in some ways, just because some of it is just that, like, we've seen more of it. Like with the steals last year, it was amazing. Like his perimeter defense is really good. Like I like Gary out there more on defense than Malachi, but they do similar things on defense. And so they're kind of similar on defense. I wouldn't say Gary's like super much better than Malachi on defense, but they're very similar as far as what they can do on defense. Let's just put it that way. Quick saying, this is Malachi's last season with the Raptors if he doesn't show his worth. He could be traded by the deadline for a second rounder. Yeah, this is all true. In fact, there may be some strategy to make Malachi look good and get his value up and get something for him. That may very well be something. And this could work out really well for Malachi. He could end up going to another team where he gets a lot of time and does really well and stuff like that. And then he's coming to play us and he kills us. And we're like, you know what happened like that? I think this is true. I think that if he doesn't show his worth, this is going to be his last season with us. Whether it's because of his contract, whether it's because he gets traded, whether because he just goes away, because it just didn't happen. And that's sad, and it happens. It's just the NBA. It's the business. G saying GTJ was top 3 in steals in the league, and 1 point was on top. Yeah. But I mean, if Malachi got a certain amount of time on the court, he could be in the league leaders of steals too. He's that kind of guy, that clip. He gets steals pretty often. David's saying, that's interesting, Tom. Gary Trent Jr. would go nuts if you read that, but I get what you're saying. I don't know if Gary would go nuts about that. I don't know. His post plus minus is pretty bad. Yeah. I don't know. Comparing Gary and Malachi is kind of apples to oranges. They're very different players in a lot of ways. Lolita saying Matt was at Blue Jays the other day. He was good. When he does the announcing for the Blue Jays games, he was really good. That little stretch he did this season. Like Matt Devlin calling back baseball works. I've heard him call football too in the past too. And he's a good sportscaster all around. But I'm so glad. Like, this is the thing. In the beginning, he was like the guy from Memphis. He was the guy from Charlotte. He had called for a couple of different NBA franchises already. He'd been the Bobcats announcer before he came to Toronto. And I'd seen some of his work down in the States. And I was like, oh man, this is just some American jabroni. It's like, he's just too boring and ordinary. But he really took to the Raptors and he loves the Raptors. He's a real one. And it's like his thing now at this point in his career. And like, I'm so all about it. I love that Matt Devlin is truly a real Raptor at heart at this point. Like, I don't think he could get another job and feel the same kind of affinity and passion that he does for the team that he covers right now. I mean, I just can't see it because there's just some giddiness and weirdness about the joy that he calls Raptors games with at this point. Like he was really professional and cut and dry and just down the line, kind of just I'm a sportscaster and so like now he's loose and he's fun. He's a personality instead of just being a sportscaster. Now he's a personality now, which is great. I love it. Tom Duke saying that, gee, that's true. Allen Iverson, jumped ahead. Let me see. Allen Iverson got a lot of steals too, but he was not known as a good defender. Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like I was saying yesterday, the Raptors keep track of all the defensive stats. In fact, they look at that more than the offensive stats in many ways. And that when the guys come in, they look at their defensive performance. They don't really look at their offensive stuff. Maybe a little bit if there's like a lot of turnovers or somebody shot really poorly. But for the most part, they're just looking at blown coverages and who did the best on defense. And the difference with this is like Allen Iverson was a gifted player at stealing the ball, but his team concept and sometimes the teams he was on didn't really cater to his deficiencies on defense also. And he would get burned. He would get bullied. There would be problems with him. He could be used as a weakness against the Sixers when he was on the Sixers at the time in different ways. And that's the thing. It's like with the Raptors, with the team concept, they can cover up those kind of problems and then really look afterwards if there were problems at where the problem areas were and tell specifically who was not getting their percentage of doing eagles or doing whatever they have to do on defense to be successful and stuff like that. I love that they break it down like that. So I would say that's the difference is that we're really, really like fine tooth comb, kind of like going up through our defense and what's working and what isn't statistically. And maybe in Philadelphia, they weren't doing that kind of stuff. It's like Allen, you go ahead and like gamble and try and get steals. And Mutombo's behind you underneath the basket kind of thing. Like he'll clean up whatever you miss. Basically, that kind of thing. Naka the nachos here. Good to see you as usual. Malachi and Precious can have real good chemistry. Malachi and Precious in particular. I want to see Malachi have good chemistry with all of those guys. I mean, it's really is good that he was at Summer League. He's in the middle of that picture with all the dudes like Fred, Otto, Pascal, Precious, Boucher, Scotty, Gary Trent. They're all in a row, and that thing is awesome. Because, like, listen, they love him on the team. I've heard Scotty talk about Malachi on the Twitch stream, and he just has love for him. Like, he believes in him, that he really thinks that this kid is the real deal, and that he's seen him in practice. He's seen him burn him and make him look bad on defense. He's seen him bomb like crazy shots. They've seen stuff behind the scenes that really have them confident in him. Like, if he comes into a game, they're not worried about him fucking up. They believe in him is what I'm saying. And that's part of the disconnect is the behind the scenes with Malachi, the stuff that they see in practices, the stuff that they know about him with how he's working and studying behind the scenes that we don't see is the disconnect between that and that. The organization sees a whole bunch of stuff about Malachi that the fans don't. And that's the difference right there. But in particular, Matt Precious and Malachi, I want him to have good chemistry with everybody. I felt like he's had good chemistry with Chris Boucher at times, partly because they played 2 years together. Really, them and Tampa, they had to get a lot of good chemistry together because they were the two kind of important Raptors at times when everybody would be sick or out. It was just Malachi and Chris Boucher carrying water for the Raptors at times. And so they got a lot of time together that was really important in Tampa. Let's see. G saying Gary guards starters for the most part, most of the season. Malachi didn't. So personally, I think Gary is a better defender. Well, he's got more time and had more showcase and stuff like that. But who knows? If Malachi got the same amount of time on the court like Gary, would he be in the league for steals? Like, would he be around up there in the top 5 like Gary was last season? I don't know. We can't say for sure. We don't know. Sometimes having more time on the court can make things happen like that and stuff like that. So I personally think Gary Trent Jr. is the better player, the better defender, the better shooter, the better scorer in all kinds of different ways. He's taller and he's just a better fit, and he's already more established in a lot of ways in the NBA. And that if we're going to really compare the two of them, Tom Duke saying, I actually like Gary Trent Jr.'s defense and overall game, but that negative guy, Robert Misovich, dismissing Gary Trent Jr.'s defense like his rim protection. Robert Misovich has been blocked by me for over a year now on Facebook. So I'm very, very blessed. I do not see anything from him in any kind of way, any kind of gibberish. He really pissed me off last year. And a couple of other YouTube channels were trying to get me together with him and do a show with him. And I absolutely refused. I won't do anything with this guy just because I've seen how he does his journalism and stuff for the Raptors. He's a tabloid kind of guy. He likes to write shit to get clicks. He likes to write shit that isn't necessarily true and can be negative about the Raptors and detrimental and hurtful for them. So any opinion that he has on Gary Trent Jr., his defense and stuff like that, I take it with a grain of salt. And like I said, Tom, I blocked him, so I don't even know what he's saying. I don't give a shit what he's saying. I literally blocked him on Facebook. I just did. I don't want to see his shit, so I don't see it. Nako saying, I think you could argue Gary is better man-to-man defender than Malachi. Malachi better at team defense. Okay. That may be semantics and a little bit of I could say Gary's maybe just because of the extra length and tallness with Gary and stuff like that. I think this is really not really an important comparison or versus in some ways. Like they're both very good defenders in different ways. I'd say Gary's a better defender though. David S is saying at Tom Duke, sounds like you have been watching some Pensare basketball videos. Oh, Pensari. Yeah, I've seen that channel and some of the stuff that has been on there. Yeah, never enjoyed him, but he knows basketball. Yeah, I've seen a couple of their videos too. The other one that I like is Coach Allen. If you watch Coach Allen out of Hamilton, he's good. He's a good coach. He teaches really good fundamental basketball skills. Some of his breakdowns and his prognostication about the Raptors is really stupid, though. Like I heard him say something last year that just pissed me off so much. He was talking about how the Raptors aren't good enough to do this and this and this. I'm like, Coach, you're not paying attention, man. Like, don't sewer them. Don't sue them. If you're gonna make any content, don't make it negative about the Raptors. Just make good, positive content about the Raptors. No reason to dismiss them or say that they're not going to be as good as everybody thinks they're going to be. Just shut up. You're going to lose Raptors followers like me if you do that too much. I really do that. Like if people are overly just negative or putting down the Raptors, not giving them a fair shake, I'm like, why am I listening to you? You're supposed to be a Raptors content maker. You sound like the NBA media in the US. It's like, I'll just go listen to them if I want this kind of analysis. It's like that kind of stuff. I want pie in the sky. I want to say what is possible and what could be achieved, and let's go for that goal. And let's talk about that. Let's your car's skidding out of control on an icy road in Canada. You look at the ditch, you're going to go to the ditch. But if you look down the middle of the road, you can steer your car right down the middle of the road, and it won't. Anybody who lives in Canada and has to drive on icy roads knows this is true. That wherever you look, you will go. So if you want to look at that ditch, you will go to the ditch. So that's why I choose to look at the middle of the road and keep going and keep moving and progressing. And that's why content makers that make negative content about the Raptors, I hate that shit because you're looking at the ditch, is what I'm saying. All right, let's see. Click is saying, y'all are really saying Malachi is better than Gary Trent Jr.? Gary's shot creation is 1,000 levels above Malachi. Now, I'm not saying that. Some of these guys may have said that. I don't know if they did say that exactly. But I've very much been on the record in this live stream saying that Gary is the better player in general, overall, and stuff like that. So, I'm not with them on that, Click. Tom Duke saying, Click just stirring the pot. Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. Click's a real one. He's original. He's been here since the beginning. David's saying, I don't think anyone here thinks Flynn is better than Trent Jr. Okay, yeah. Just clearing it up. Tom Duke saying, I've always loved Gary Trent Jr.'s Starboy game. Totally different level than Malachi. Yeah, they're different levels and different things, different opportunities. Gary's gone through tough times like Malachi has. And, he's a little bit further in his career. All right, Kareem Thomas. Let's see what he's saying next. Kareem's a funny guy. I'm going to see what he's saying. Downton versus Flynn, we will see who balls out more in the preseason games. Personally, I think Jeff could command the floor better If it's not clear cut, we give them boxing gloves. All right. If we're comparing, now this is a better comparison in some ways than Gary Trent Jr. and Malachi Flynn, Jeff Doughton Jr. and Malachi Flynn. And the difference here, and we saw, not well in summer league, we saw what Jeff Doughton's all about. He's like very equal. He's equal between his own scoring and distributing the ball. That's a true point guard. Like Jeff Doughton to me is the most real point guard, like prototype on our team. Like if I really had to rank the Raptors right now about who would be like the most real point guard, Jeff Downs probably number one. He's a real true point guard. And like even over Freddie, I think he's more of a point guard than Fred is. He's more of a point guard than Malachi. And then the second most point guard on our team is Scotty. I say Jeff Dowden is the most point guard on our team, and then Scotty Barnes is the second most point guard on our team. And then maybe Fred after that. That's what I'm saying. That's the way I look at it. So I think Kareem's right. If in the preseason and in the training camp, Jeff Doughton is showing more stability, more consistency, a real point guard role, and stuff like that, he may earn more time than Malachi in the season coming up. Now, he's a two-way, so he's going to be limited with the amount of games that he can play in the NBA and stuff like that. But I'm really curious about this battle myself that Kareem Thomas has brought up. The Jeff Doughton is an X factor on this Raptors roster this year that could be very interesting at different times in spot duty and the things that he can offer the Raptors lineup from what he can do on the court and stuff like that. It could be very interesting. Kenny's here. Good to see Kenny. If Doughton can hit shots, then it's completely over for Malachi. Yeah, and he's laughing about the boxing gloves. Yeah, no, get him the sumo suits. I always love to see a good sumo suit battle where boom, boom. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think Kenny's right. Like, if that's one of the things that won him the job over Armani. Like, let's get this pure and simple. Armani had one really good summer league game, the first one, and then he didn't really show up for the next couple games as much in any kind of way. Jeff Doughton was consistent. All the games that he played, the 4 games that he played at summer league, were consistent. He got double digits in points. He got a certain amount of assists with no turnovers. That was all really consistent play. And if Jeff shows consistency in the preseason and in the training camp over Malachi's a little bit all like, then yeah, this could very seriously happen, especially if Jeff's hitting his shot. Like, that's the big thing. If you get open threes on the Raptors and you're off the bench this year, you better fucking be making them. I'm sorry. Last year sucked. It was so horrible to see our bench guys come in and not contribute in any kind of good way, whether it's defensively or offensively. This has got to change this year. That these minutes are going to be way more competitive and they're going to be needing to be more productive, whoever is filling them. So no messing around, stuff like that. Lolita's saying, did you see the video of Scotty went shopping and ended up bawling in the back of the store with his friends? Yeah, I did see that video. That was the one that had me worried about his liability issues and stuff like that. Like Brian Macon said it in his interview that Scotty would just go and pick up basketball wherever he goes. Like he would go to Brampton or wherever. The guy invited him to come pick up basketball in Pickering the other day, like earlier this season. The guy in Pickering on the Twitch was saying, come play basketball with me in Pickering. And he's like, Scotty would say yes if he didn't have certain liability issues with the Raptors, his contract and things like that. He'd love to go play pickup basketball with whoever. If he could play basketball all the time, anywhere with anybody, he would do it. And he would be totally about playing basketball with any one of us because he just loves the sport that much. That's what Brian said. If he could go to LA Fitness every single day like he used to when he was younger and run like he did back then, he would do it now. But he's not allowed to by the team. And that whole thing that they did in the back of the store had me a little worried. Like I'm watching him back there and I'm like, man, he could get hurt back there. There's like concrete floors and like there's, stuff like that. I don't like this totally, but he's going to do that. He enjoys himself. He wants to do that kind of stuff. I don't know. I worry about the liability and playing in different places and stuff like that. But yeah, it's fun. And he was cool. He was bombing it. And he got really competitive with that guy in the back of that store. He's like, he had to make sure he beat his ass. Like he really did. He was like bombing those threes and then dunking it a couple times and stuff like that. It's so fun to watch him. All right, let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to say your name, But I'm really glad you're here. We're here every morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live talking Raptors every single morning. Today, we're sharing the love for Malachi Flynn. We're showing some appreciation for Malachi and his outstanding performances this summer. Let's see what's going on here. All right, so he's naming free agents that are still out there. So many free agent point guards: DJ Augustin, Eric Bledsoe, Rajon Rondo. They're all better than Malachi, is what this gentleman's saying. I would agree with some of them, but I don't know if they're all better than Malachi at this point. Like Rondo's really up there. Rondo's really been all over the place. Rondo's a weird guy. Like we got to remember, Rondo won a championship with Boston when they won their championship way back. Oh my gosh. He's been around. He's been bounced around. Like nobody's really keeping him around for different reasons. And I'm wondering why. I don't know. The other guys, I hate DJ Augustin. I don't want him here. I don't want him here. He's a Raptor killer. He hates us. He does not belong in Toronto. There's no way DJ Augustin comes back to Toronto again. We cut him a long time ago. He's had a chip on his shoulder against us. He did that thing against us in the game one in Orlando and Toronto in 2019. There's all kinds of different reasons why I don't want Augustin anywhere near us. Eric Bledsoe is a little bit different. Out of the three of those guys, he may be the one that may be the most usable, but I'm not even sure what he's at in his career at this point either, and stuff like that. Tom Duke saying Melo is better than Malachi. All right, guys, this is the share love club for Malachi. This isn't like let's dump on Malachi and make him feel worse. I really do want to build him up and continue this good confidence he's building this summer and hopefully see him succeed for the Raptors this season. That's what I'm saying, guys. Kenny's saying Down is Alvin Williams 2.0. Oh, that's an interesting comparison. I've never really thought about him as being like Alvin. We'll have to see more of him. I think that little sample of him in summer league was just the beginning, and we're gonna have to see more of him to really make the right comparison. There's different point guards that in some ways his frame, he's not as tall as Penny, but in some ways he kind of reminds me of Penny Hardaway. I don't know why. Maybe that's a really bad comparison. Kareem saying, can somebody please tell me what the fuck is happening at the center spot? Who's starting? Who's off the bench? And who's stretching? Cam, Precious, Boucher, Koloko. All right, Kareem. Well, we can do a little center thing. The way I see it right now. Now, this is what Brian Macon, once again, we can keep referencing this great interview with Brian Macon, is that they played Scotty at the starting five last year. This is just the pure truth of it. They tried to say OG was our center. They tried to say Pascal was our center. But the man who jumps the jump ball is our starting center. So, Kareem, from game to game, when you see who is in the center circle at the beginning of the game, that is our starting center. And our starting center is Scotty Barnes. I know that sounds really weird, but it's kind of like a two ends of the court. It's different. At one end of the court, Scotty's going to be our starting center, but at the other end of the court, he's going to be our starting point guard. And this is what we're going to do this year. This is serious. We're going to start the same starting lineup. It'll be Fred, Gary, OG, Pascal, and Scotty in that order of size. And they'll switch around. Like on offense, Scotty will be the point guard, Fred will be the shooting guard, Gary will be the small forward, and OG probably be the center, and Pascal will be the power forward on the offense in traditional roles. Now, on defense, though, Fred will be the point guard, Gary will be the shooting guard, OG will be the small forward, Pascal will be the power forward, or switchable. They could be either one of the forwards, OG and Pascal, and Scotty will be the center. And then what they did last year was if Scotty's in trouble, he's over the water's over his head as far as like things that the center and the other team's doing to him. He can't handle him defensively, physically, whatever. Maybe it's taken too much from him to guard the guy. Kem Birch immediately. Right at the beginning. It's not any of the other guys. It's not Precious. It's not Koloko. It's not Boucher. It's Kem Birch. Because this dude is the real defensive center that we have on our team. The most capable defensive center, for sure. And then if Scotty's having trouble, and it's not necessarily you take Scotty out either. You may take one of the other guys out. Scotty slots to a different spot. And Kem starts guarding the center then. Now, Koloko's going to be a project. The thing with Koloko is he's going to be a foul-prone person in this first year with the NBA. It may be that he can't even stay on the court. He could get 3 fouls like that. And that's going to be the main issue with Koloko is that he's going to get a lot of foul trouble right away. And that may be part of why they're trying to figure out whether they want to even bother having him on the main roster or putting him down below in G League so he can really learn that kind of stuff easier and maybe be a big dog in a small pond instead of coming up to the big pond and trying to cohabitate and live in that world and everything at this point. That's what I'm saying. So that's part of the reason why I think they haven't signed him is that they're not totally sure if he should be a straight up 905 player. And this is the thing, he's not a first round pick, guys. So he could be just a straight up 905 player and not on a regular roster. And some people will be like, whoa, 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 didn't we just get him for the rim protection on the main roster and the things that we want from him? Well, we have to be patient. There may be a transition of him coming in and saving us in those kind of ways, but not right away and stuff like that. Now, as far as Precious and this whole equation of things, I don't look at Precious as necessarily a backup center. I don't look at him as necessarily anything. He really is kind of like Scotty. He's a very versatile. Like if we want to use him as a backup center, we can. But I don't think we should pigeonhole him that way. I think that we should start maybe bringing Precious in as a backup wing, as a backup like slasher off our bench and stuff like that. If he doesn't earn a starting job at some point during the season, somehow, some way, because that's somebody that everybody's saying should probably be starting for the Raptors is Precious. And then some people are saying, whoa, then you switch Gary out of the starting lineup, you put Precious in, and you do it with that lineup instead. I don't know. It's not all totally clear, but I do think that what I said about Scotty's role in the starting lineup is probably going to be true, that they're going to go with the same starting lineup from last year. And then it'll be the similar kind of thing with that kind of stuff. I don't know. Hopefully that answered things. And Boucher, once again, he's not a center. So he shouldn't even be in that whole factoring of the ideas. The centers we got right now are Kem, Precious, Koloko, and Scotty. And Boucher is a power forward. He's a small forward even. He could play small forward. Monique saying, notice how the days are flying by. 57 left. You keep counting them. It's going to seem like they're not. But yes, I hope they just fly by. And I mean, I don't want summer to end because summer's fun and it's nice weather and stuff like that. And everybody's predicting a horrible winter for Canada this year. Ooh, I don't like hearing that. G saying Precious will probably play both as a center and wing, depending on whom we play. If they play against a small ball team, I can see him at center at points in the game. Yeah, he's going to get his minutes either way. And in some ways, I feel like it'll do better for his development and him becoming a better offensive player if he's not playing center. That if he can actually be kind of like, the 4 or the 3 on the court at times, that may be really good for his offensive development and him getting to try a little bit more of the things that are in his physical tool bag, as far as like taking people off the dribble with crossovers and attacking the rim, stuff like that. Let's see. Kareem saying, you said slasher describing Precious. Most accurate thing mentioned today. Wait, I haven't been that accurate? No, just kidding. Kareem Thomas. Yeah, he's a slasher. That he should be used as a slasher. That, not like Boucher. Boucher looks really bad when he puts the ball on the court. He has so much room between his dribble and the court. And he's like, it's like somebody can just come steal the ball from him easy. Meanwhile, Precious, for some reason, he's really good at ball handling. And underrated at it, actually. And that's the thing that's different there is that he can actually be a scorer like Giannis. Like Giannis is a slasher and goes towards the basket and attacks the rim. Well, this is what Precious can do too and stuff like that. And Scotty also, that's another person that can do this. All right, we're just at an hour and a half. Basic key points for today. Malachi Flynn is, maligned. He has been somebody who's been, shat on and people have talked trash about him. But I want to say right now, we got to give him this opportunity. The front office really, really believes in him. Masai specifically. Nick Nurse believes in him. We need to see him get a chance this year, and then we'll make our final decision. Click may be right. This year, if he doesn't cut it, that's it. He's done. And it could be that we are going to try and make him look good and showcase him a bit so that we can move him in a trade. Because in a lot of ways, once again, like Armani Brooks, like some other players that have been on the Raptors recently, they don't fit our new plan, our Vision 6-9. They don't fit what we're doing. And that if we're, some people have said, oh, the Raptors have a whole bunch of power forwards on their team. Yeah, that's on purpose. This isn't a bad strategy. This isn't something that we did because we were stupid and we're like, oh, we forgot to get guards. No, this is very purposeful and it's a part of our new vision. And that Malachi is a part of an old time, an older kind of idea of what we're doing and stuff. And that may be just bad timing. This is the wrong time for him to be in here. Some people have said Andrea Bargnani should have been in the league now with his frame and the style of game that he played. He would have been way better off now. Well, maybe Malachi would have been better off in another era, a past gone era of the NBA, and then he would have been more successful at that time when there were more smaller guards in different ways and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all being here. Check out the Brian Macon interview with Amit Mann. Really, really great interview. Good job interviewing him, Amit, once again. Really impressed me. And then like this Kyle Lowry, Vince Carter stuff is fun. It's in the news a lot right now. It's a fun thing to watch. Kyle's such a cool guy. We love Kyle so much. Vince, yeah, I'll just say that. I'll just say, Vince. All right. Yeah. Yeah. We get it with you, Vince. I understand what you're all about. I can read between the lines. Anyway, y'all have a great Saturday. Enjoy yourself. Tomorrow, a Sunday report on my lecture on how not to be a dumpster fire as a sports franchise, how to avoid the pitfalls of becoming a dumpster fire. The Raptors have really built a great franchise all around that is now the most valued in Canada. How did they do that? And how can other sports franchises emulate the Raptors to find that kind of success in building a good foundational franchise? That's what I'll talk about tomorrow. How not to be a dumpster fire and how to do it the right way. That's what I'm saying. All right, Kareem's saying one more thing. We need to change the dunk contest. It's been horrible the past few years. I propose to you the layup contest. Oh my gosh. I propose to you the layup contest. Let's give our guards a chance to shine. And David's laughing his ass off too. That's pretty, actually, you know what? He's telling a joke, but I also think there's something to this. Like, this isn't totally not serious. I mean, this is serious to a degree. Like, they could be like really cool, crazy circus shots and stuff like that. I thought that, like, in some ways, there's different ways to try and fix the dunk competition. But right now, I'm not really in that mode or thinking about this in my head right now. But this could be a fun segment that we could do sometime, like maybe a Thursday think tank on how to fix the NBA dunk competition and make it better, make it more enjoyable, stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe we'll save it for that. But I kind of like this idea of a layup contest. It's kind of interesting in some ways. I don't know. Anyway, on that note, guys, share the love for Malachi Flynn. Let's listen. There are going to be detractors. There's going to be haters. A lot of them here in Toronto. We could be part of the percentage of the Raptor fans that are actually loving and supporting him and hoping good things for him. That would be good because we do want our Raptors to succeed, all of them. It's not about like seeing somebody fail and being like, I told you so. People that do that and feel good from that kind of thing, you're assholes, is what I'll say. Tom Duke saying there is a lot of the league that always use their dominant hand for layups. I was always taught to do a left-handed layup with my left hand. Yeah. Yeah, that's good that you're ambidextrous and like, you got to play with your offhand. That is really important in sports, in all sports. It's good to be left-handed or ambidextrous in different ways. And go Malachi is what G's saying. Yes, go Malachi. All right, guys, thanks again. Please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for joining me once again. Hopefully you learned something about the Raptors or some insight or something like that. Tomorrow, Sunday report, how not to have a sports franchise turn into a dumpster fire. I can give you all the secrets. You come in here and I'll tell you exactly how to do it, New York Knicks, how to do it, Maple Leafs, how to do it, all you shitty teams out there that have been languishing in horribleness for a long time. I can tell you how to do it. Cheers to y'all. Cheers to you, Tom Dugan. Let's go, Malachi Flynn. Drop some more huge 50-piece, 70-piece games this summer, and Raptor fans will keep waking up to the greatness that you are. August the 20th, Maple Leaf Gardens, Toronto Pro-Am, Malachi Flynn starring in it. So if you live in Toronto and you want to see Malachi drop some big numbers, go to Maple Leaf Gardens August the 20th for the Pro-Am. And keep striving and achieving, Raptors. And I can't wait to see you again on Twitch, Mr. Scotty Barnes. I know you'll be there again soon. Peace and love and harmony, baby. Peace, love, and happiness. Can't we just get a little more peace, love, and happiness in this world? Please, please. And one more thing. Lots of Larry O'Briens for the Raptors, baby. That's right. And that's what Brian Macon said in his interview. He's like, I can't wait to see where Scotty is in like 10 years from now and how much he went and took because he wanted it. He wanted Rookie of the Year. He went and took it. He wants NBA All-Star this year. He's going to go take it. He wants Larry O'Brien's. He's going to go take them. Trust me. He's going to go take them. Scotty Barnes is going to go take those Larry O'Brien's because he wants to be in the conversations of greatness. Oh, yeah. All right, guys, let's go Raptors. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.